This seems to be the standard demonstration now.
Well, it's a good example of graphic animation for the products.
This machine has 4 custom chips that were designed by Atari, and it has a great deal of graphics power, but it was designed in such a way that the 68,000 still has a great deal of the processor's bus bandwidth. And so the 68,000 is capable of doing a great deal of calculation at the same time.
Okay, one final question. How many have you sold so far?
We released numbers at the end of the 3rd quarter that we had shipped over 50,000 units. Now, you have to understand the ST is shipping and has been introduced worldwide, and we are marketing the product in over 30 countries around the world.
Gentlemen, we've got to go. Both machines very impressive. Of course, one of the questions is, where is the software? We went out and talked to a software developer about that question. Wendy Woods has the report.
When new hardware enters the market, software companies have to make a tough choice. Will they write programs for it? Stoneware, famous for DB Master, had to choose between the Amiga and the Atari ST. They chose the Atari.
Truth is, our decision was not to develop for the Amiga right away, in part because the Amiga, when you develop for it, it's very hard to use your development investment for other machines. With the ST, it's much easier.
The success of Stoneware's filing program, which will be marketed under the Atari Soft label, of course depends on the success of the Atari ST. They're betting that the low-cost machine will sell, and the company's management will sell it.
And if you're out on the streets in a very competitive market in a tough business situation, I'd probably bet on those guys. I certainly wouldn't bet against them.
Stoneware realizes there are big risks, but the company is known as a risk taker. Stoneware wrote the first serious business software for the Apple and the Macintosh. The hundreds of thousands of programs they've already shipped are testimony that they made the right choice. In the case of the ST, Stoneware expects the machine's revolutionary low price will make it a big seller. Stoneware eventually plans to make software for the Commodore Amiga, but for the moment they'll concentrate on more Atari ST products, certain that getting in there first with low-price software for a low-price machine will pay off. For the Computer Chronicles, I'm Wendy Woods.
Joining us now is Louis Moore, president of Home Computing Centers, a chain of retail computer stores, and Tim Beharon, vice president for microcomputer research at Creative Strategies.
Louis, I understand that you sell both the 520 ST and the Commodore Amiga. Now, we've seen a price that goes from $800 on up to $2,000, I think that's what Brian said, for configurations of the 520. What is a comparable price, say, for an Amiga?
Well, the basic system for the Amiga is $1295. But you have to put a monitor on it, and to take it up to 512K, with those two things, you're at $1985.
Now, what is the customer response in this? Do they see this as two different computers because of the price range, or are they comparing them directly, or what?
Well, there's a lot of comparison, but we're also seeing people seeing them as two different systems. I think they're both going to do fine.
Well, what do you hear from the consumers when they walk in and look at the two side by side? You're one of the few dealers that has both of them in your store.
Well, we hear a range of comments. One is that the Amiga has a lot more features, but it's not worth twice the price to most people. We are also seeing quite a few customers who came in intending to buy a less expensive system or one that's comparably priced, like a Commodore 128, switching to the ST.
Tim, one of the questions people have is trying to define the market for these two machines. I mean, is it a classic game machine? Is it really a business computer? Where do you see these machines being sold?
Well, in the Atari category, because of the Atari name and image in the past, it is looking more towards a home game entertainment market rather than a business crossover. Whereas the Commodore, though Commodore has had a strong background in the same area, the Amiga, with its PC compatibility and the emulation as it does, has the possibility of crossing over both the home, high-end home specifically because of its price, and possibly even getting that small business market that we're just beginning to see emerge.
Tim, you brought up the point of the IBM emulation. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, my understanding, and watching the demonstrations on it, is that it makes the 8080 or the 68,000 chip believe it's an 8088, and it does it through an emulation process and software. Unfortunately, by doing it that way, it is very, very slow.
Okay.
And it is our assumption that the best way, of course, to do that would be to go to a hardware interface, and perhaps someday Commodore Amiga will do that as well.
Lou, apart from the Amiga versus the ST, how are they positioned versus the other machines? I mean, is Amiga really going up against Mac? Is that how buyers are perceiving this?
Quite a bit, yeah. But also we're seeing new buyers, really, who haven't purchased computers before and have been thinking about it. And now that it's here, they're coming in to look. There's a lot of interest. There's been a lot of press on the machine. And so we get 20 or 30 calls a day on it. We have waiting lists for it. And it's gotten a great deal of attention from people who weren't in the market.
Now, if you could kind of characterize a consumer of a computer system like this, what is it that they really want when they walk in the store? They look at this and they say, well, we'd really like to have, what is it?
Well, in the early life cycle of this product and the ST as well, you're getting mostly people right now who are enamored of the hardware, and because there's not much you can do with it as of today. And then we're getting people who know the software that's coming out and are interested in it. And the MS-DOS part is important to people, too.
Tim, we have just about a half a minute left. What about the software? You think it's going to be there for both these machines?
Well, our survey right now with the software dealers is that there's a wait-and-see attitude. They see that both machines have potential. They are looking at both companies' financial positions, which have been somewhat rocky over the last year, and they're waiting to see what will happen after the first of the year. And if the channels begin to open up and they begin to see the distributors having a demand, the machines can be delivered on a timely basis, then the software guys will start following suit. But it's still a wait-and-see game from that standpoint.
Gentlemen, thank you very much. Well, we've seen two very impressive machines today. Of course, the question is, will they make it in the marketplace? And we asked our commentator, George Morrow, for his thoughts.
Will either or both of these innovative machines be successful? Well, the Mindset computer was also innovative and had excellent graphics, but fell flat in its face. However, these machines are linked with one of the magic names in this business, Jack Tramiel. He started Commodore and salvaged Atari. The mention of Tramiel stirs strong emotions within the industry, and his power in the marketplace is legion. He is second only to IBM in the ability to establish de facto standards. And he is the major reason the press and public is willing to give these two machines a chance. But a computer is never more successful than the software written which exploits its potential. And while much of the existing software can be ported to these machines, that in itself is no reason to go out and buy either. There is today 3 major operating environments occupying the energies of programmers, 2 from Apple and 1 from IBM. It seems unlikely